Hi everybody, it's Dr. Eric Balkavage and we're back for another edition of Thyroid Thursday. Today I want to talk about why it's so hard to lose weight when you have a thyroid condition. And for most people, and this is not just people who have a thyroid condition, but really everybody who struggles to lose weight, what happens is we have chronic stress in our life, whether it's physical, chemical, emotional, or microbial. And physical could be accidents or injuries. It could be over-exercises or under-exercising. It could be chemical stress, what we eat, if we're eating gluten and we're sensitive to it, or we're drinking lots of alcohol, or we're just eating lots of processed foods and sugars and carbohydrates. Or if we have emotional stress, like our family or our relationships or work or finances, or the past things that happened to us in our life that we're still carrying around with us. Or it could be microbial stress, the organisms that grow within us. There's a balance that should be there, and when they get out of balance, they can create toxins that create more stress. They can disrupt our physiology. And so this stuff, when it gets beyond what our body can manage and maintain, and it takes us out of what we call homeostasis, this balance, this fight or flight response kicks in. And when it does, it triggers a bunch of changes in our chemistry that actually promotes fat gain and fat storage. So some of the things that happen is we increase our cortisol. And cortisol drives an inflammatory response. Cortisol promotes body fat storage. Cortisol drives our fight or flight hormones. And high cortisol can disrupt our sleep. Cortisol also blocks thyroid transport into the tissues. So cortisol is a major issue. We see elevations of catecholamines. These are our fight or flight hormones, epinephrine, norepinephrine. And these things are designed to make us more vigilant, to make us more alert and awake, but they can create a lot of stress and anxiety. And when we're in that fight or flight response, we're not going to grow, we're not going to adapt, we're not going to metabolize well. And so we have a greater tendency to fat gain. We see changes in tryptophane metabolism. Now, tryptophane is an amino acid that's in our food. And under healthy situations, tryptophane does two primary things. It works to make something called B3 in our body, that's vitamin B3. The other thing it does is it makes something called serotonin, which most people know is a feel-good neurotransmitter. And serotonin goes to make melatonin that helps regulate our sleep cycles. But under stress, the body takes that tryptophane and takes it away from serotonin and melatonin production. So we're going to be moody, irritable, depressed, and we're going to have disrupted sleep patterns, and drives that tryptophan more towards a pathway called the kynurenine pathway. It's the same pathway that we go to make B3, but instead of making B3, we make more neurotoxic substances, something called quinolinic acid. And these are neurotoxins. Now, why would the body do that? Because when you're in fight or flight and there's a stress on the body doesn't want to speed up metabolism. It doesn't want to make more things to make chemistry normal. It's trying to make more products to kill the threat, whether it's bacteria or virus or an organism or just a perceived threat caused by these things. The body acts the same. We see changes in quality sleep because when we're under stress, we're not going to sleep. We're not going to rest. We need to be vigilant. We need to fight the attack. We need to figure it out. If you're running from the proverbial tiger, you're not going to lay down and take a nap. You're not going to rest and digest your food. You're not going to have sex. So we also see a change in digestion because chronic stress deactivates a nerve that's called your vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve is what really triggers the whole digestive response. It doesn't mean you don't eat, but when you put those foods into your system, you don't digest them appropriately. You don't have the right chemicals being released from the system. So that food sits in the gut. It gets acted on by bacteria and other organisms that cause gas and bloating and pressure and fermentation and toxic waste products. Those make us sick. Those drive inflammation and they cause us to increase our fat. We see changes in thyroid physiology, not just from cortisol, but under stress and inflammatory mechanisms occur that convert active hormones, T4, T3, to inactive hormones, reverse T3 and T2. So it doesn't matter what your TSH or T4 is, your pituitary gland will always get the amount of thyroid hormone it needs to keep your brain alert and awake. But the rest of the body gets inactive hormones produced, and that slows metabolism. And that's not an accident, it's by design. The cellular system assumes there's a threat, and the last thing it wants to do is speed up metabolism. Whether it's an organism or cancer, it's trying to slow metabolism down, to kill the cells off or to kill the threat. We see changes in sex hormones because when we're under stress, we're running from that proverbial tiger. We're not going to lay down and have sex. We get eaten. And so our sex hormones get dysregulated. And we see increased inflammation in the body. Inflammation is your cellular system's way to alert all the other cells in the body that, hey, there's a problem and we need to defend something. So inflammatory processes are part of a normal stress response. We spend so much time trying to get rid of inflammation. We're taking a bunch of medications to suppress inflammation. What we're really doing is suppressing the immune system many times. Yes, the inflammatory condition can get out of control, but we have to look at the inflammatory mechanism as a natural defense mechanism. And instead of trying to just suppress it, we need to find out why this has occurred. And why that's occurred is because of these things. So what can you do? One, you got to evaluate your life. What in your life is creating the stress? And until you really sit down and take note of what are the stressors in your life, it's hard to fix those things. You can definitely work on cleaning up your diet if you haven't done that already. If you have a diet that's full of processed foods, carbohydrates, sugars, alcohol, cigarettes, get rid of those things. They're creating stress. It doesn't take any more money to eat healthy than it does to eat crappy food. 3, you got to work on breathing. So many people on chronic stress breathe through their mouth, okay? And if you're breathing through your mouth during the day, you're definitely breathing through your mouth at night. And when we breathe through our mouth a lot, we create hypoxia in the brain, decrease oxygen to the brain. And that triggers more cell danger response. So work on breathing. A great resource is Buteyko breathing. If you need some exercises, you can always call my office and I'll give you I have a list of how to do certain specific breathing exercises. 4, you got to work on sleep habits. Sleep is critical. And so if you don't have a good sleep routine, if you wake up different times every day and you go to bed at different times every day, you got to change that. Get into a pattern. If you're on your computer, your iPad, your iPhone until all hours of the night or watching TV, you got to cut those things out. They dysregulate the brain. They wake up the pineal gland, so they'll dysregulate your sleep systems. Yes, you may sleep, but it may not be quality sleep. And it's been shown in the research that poor quality sleep is a major cause of inflammation, major cause of stress, and promotes fat gain. 5, deal with the emotional baggage. We've all had stress. We've all had things that have happened to us, all things that we're not happy about. We may have current stress in our life, but really the best thing you can do is either deal with the stress or that baggage and get over it, or you've got to put it behind you somehow. You've got to either get rid of it or deal with it. Because if you don't, it will be there, playing like a bad song in the back of your head that you just can't get rid of, or static on a poorly tuned radio station. You've got to deal with your emotional baggage, no matter what it is. If it's a bad relationship, get out of it. Fix it or get out of it. If it's finances, find a way to address those. But you've got to deal with them. 6, if you've done all these things, then you've got to look for help. So if you do these things, why wouldn't you get better? Some of us have had chronic stress response going on for a better part of our life. And if you've had these things going on chronically for a better part of your life, then many of your chemistry systems have become dysregulated. Your body's ability to regulate glucose on its own is not very good. Your gut is damaged, inflamed, dysbiotic, or leaky, and you've got to get some nutrition to help that and some guidance to help you get rid of that. So search out for a functional medicine practitioner like me. Do these things, but if you can't get better, or you've tried these already, or you're doing them already, you can't get better, you've got to get some help. It's okay to ask for help. And it's a complicated thing to fix sometimes, but there are answers, okay? A couple things not to do. Don't go on a low-calorie diet. Calorie-restricted diets can work the first time, maybe the second time, to lose some weight. But ultimately, what happens to most people is they gain all that weight back. When you go on a calorie-restricted diet, you dysregulate your metabolism, you change the set point of your metabolism, and you screw up your thyroid physiology. Yeah, it'll work the first time, but you'll probably gain it back. If you do it a second time, yeah, maybe you'll lose again, but you'll come back. And then it'll happen, you'll try and do it, and it won't work anymore, okay? 2, don't try and exercise your way out of it. If you're doing chronic exercise, you're going to the gym and you're doing chronic cardio, 60 minutes a day, you're probably doing it wrong and contributing to your stressors. Cardio Proper cardio is done well. I've talked about this in the past. Do heart rate training cardio if you're doing long durations. If you're going to do sprint type or high intensity exercise, those should really be 20 minutes or less, okay? And you can strength train. Strength training is awesome, but you have to give your body time to rest, to recover. If you're constantly hitting heavy weights day in, day out, you're not allowing your body to heal and recover, then you're contributing to the stress response. If you're exercising regularly and not changing, then you probably need to change the way you work out and give your body more time to rest, okay? Lastly, don't assume that a prescription is going to fix you. Prescription medications are designed to manage conditions, to manage symptoms. They definitely don't make you healthy. You cannot drug yourself healthy. You just can't. We consume about 65% of the world's pharmaceuticals in this country, and we're one of the sickest countries and fattest countries in the world. We can't drug ourselves healthy. We've got to change diet, lifestyle, and habits. And if those things don't work, then look for healthy ways to do it through nutrition and dietary changes and supplemental changes under the guidance of a trained professional. I hope you got some good information from today's edition of Thyroid Thursday. Look forward to another one next time. If you have any questions, by all means, put comments below where you're watching this video, or just call my office and ask for some help. Okay? Take care.